So recently I've taken a huge liking to the JoJo series, so much so that I decided to make a video about it. So here are my top 10 stands that I would want to have. This should be fun. So with that being said, play that shit. So in the process of making the list for this video, I tried to stay away from the really overpowered stands such as Made in Heaven or Gold Experience Requiem, and all the non-canon stands such as The World Over Heaven and other stands of that nature. But for number 10 on my list, I chose The World. Now I know that Star Platinum is stronger than The World, but I think that The World has a better design, and I'm pretty sure I don't need to explain The World's abilities. So on to number 9, Manhattan Transfer, with the ability of reading air currents and redirecting bullets. This is one of the few stands I actually liked in part 6, and I also really enjoy snipers, especially when they're creative about sniping. Moving on to number 8, Red Hot Chili Pepper, with the ability to absorb electricity and transfer and pass through flows of electricity. I'm not gonna lie, when I first thought about doing this video, I thought this stand would be number 1 on the list because I kind of have a huge bias against lightning abilities in anime, but I came across a lot of stands that I didn't think were good until I did the research on them. So on to number 7, Horus, with the ability of cryokinesis. I really like this stand, and I also thought Pet Shop was a perfect user because he could fly and had an amazing eyesight, which made his range with the stand perfect. But on to number 6, Tusk, more specifically Tusk Act 4. I know I said I'd stay away from OP stands, but I had to put Tusk on this list, and I feel like it's not as overpowered as stands like GER, and I only put it as number 6. Keep in mind this isn't a list based off strength, but just which stands I would have the most use for and the stands I find the coolest. Now let's get into the top 5. At number 5 we have Weather Report, aka Heavy Weather, with the ability to control the weather, and probably the best stand in part 6, not mentioning a few specific stands. This is my favorite stand in part 6, even though it doesn't really have much competition because, let's be honest, part 6 has a lot of trash stands, but the ability to control the weather just tops everything. Now, at number 4, Black Sabbath, with the ability to draw power from shadows, and it can also pull out people's souls, and it also seems to be linked with the arrow in some way, but that's a topic for another video. And it's an automatic stand, which means the damage isn't shared between the stand and the user. But more specifically, it's set to do a task and does that task by itself without being guided. I think this stand had a chance to be an amazing stand, but Popo is just a terrible user. That stand had so much potential, and Popo had it just connected to a lighter the whole time, but I digress. Moving on to the top 3 stands on my list. At number 3, Soft and Wet, with the ability of plundering. In other words, this stand can temporarily take away physical things such as someone's sense of sound and sight using bubbles. And it also has bomb creation. This stand is probably the most versatile stand a main JoJo could have, but it's still not number 1 on my list. So for number 2 on the list, Wonder of You, with the ability of calamity manipulation. It also has other abilities like disguising itself and illusion creation, but I'm just going to focus on the main ability, that being calamity manipulation. It is stated that those who commit the act of pursuit against the stand or the user will suffer calamity. This stand breaks the number 1 rule of JoJo, that being pursuing. Without pursuing the enemy, you'll never figure out what the ability is. Without figuring out the ability, you can't counter it. And without being able to counter it, you can't win. I'm not going to talk too much about this stand because I like this stand so much and I want to make a separate video about it. But there is one stand I like more. So at number 1, we have King Crimson, with the ability of time erasure and epitaph. This was a close choice between Wonder of You and King Crimson, but being able to see the future and also being able to change said future is just crazy. And I had to put it at number 1. And I just love the overall mystery surrounding Diavolo and his overall character. But that's a topic for another video as well. So if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like, and subscribe if you're new, and tell me your top 10 stands in the comments. And with that being said, yeah.